Well, hello. Welcome back to the shop. I haven't made a video in a while. Hopefully I still remember how to do it, and hopefully this quickly rigged up equipment holds out. But I wanted to make something today about the new toy that arrived recently, which is the Shaper Workstation here. This is, I guess I would call it a very fancy clamp. It's a fixturing system, and it's really cool. It's got a ton of features, and I'm just impressed for something that is at the end of the day kind of a clamp, that it has so many different ways to use it, so much attention to detail. Everywhere you turn, there's another little adjustment or screw or hole or slot or something that allows you to take advantage of a different way of using it. And it's super precise and super well designed. And so since it just came in, I thought I would show it off. Also, I haven't really used it yet. So I'm going to do a project today. My first project on this, we'll do it together, and hopefully I won't screw anything up. Or if I do, it'll be entertaining. So let's move in a little bit closer here, and I can talk about how this thing actually works. By the way, I forgot to mention earlier, it's 82 degrees here in the garage, and I'm dying. So let's talk about the workstation itself. There is this piece here, which you, again, and this is one of those things I was talking about where there are a million different ways to use it. I just screwed it into this big thick piece of MDF I have on the top of my bench, so they have screw holes here. They also have these flanges here so you can clamp it. They have a slot in the flange so that you can use an F-clamp if you have one of those tables with the holes in it. And also underneath of here they have different hole patterns for being able to bolt it in from the underside. And of course you could make threaded holes and bolt it however you want. So it's super flexible in that sense. The first thing you do with this essentially is to install this clamping plate, clamping face, whatever they call it, to the front. And that just goes into, if I could see what I was doing, that just goes into a couple of holes there. They have 3 different heights, so that if you're working on material of different heights, you can lower it 25 or 50 millimeters. And there are a couple of clever things about that as well. They design it so it's really easy to have a spoil board behind the thing, and it's exactly the right height. Yeah, let's demonstrate a thing here. So this is kind of not something that I expect to really do at all, but it's definitely one of the major uses of this device is to be able to do kind of mortising. I guess if you're making furniture, it's going to come in really handy. So they have these locking things on the front, so you just drop that into the appropriate holes and quickly tighten it up with those 2 locking screws. And then you can put on these, you can put on these, I don't remember the names of everything, but arms, I guess you could call them arms. Again, they all go on with the same provided Allen wrench. So now those are on there solid. And then the idea is it would be very quick and easy. I don't really have the right kind of wood, but let's say that you wanted to, you wanted to route the end of this to make a tenon. So that's kind of a hard thing to fixture for a router, and that's where this thing really comes in handy. First of all, another thing I didn't demonstrate. Built into here, if you just unscrew, there are 2 little metal, I don't know what you call them, 2 little metal things that screw out from there, and that gives you a perfect 90 degrees. So you can push your stock up against there, and you know that it's perpendicular to the face. And if you don't want it to be perpendicular, they also provide this fence here that you can attach. I'm not going to attach it all the way, but put that on there, and there's a screw to tighten it down, and you can adjust this to any angle. So that's pretty cool. And they thought of everything, so there's a mirrored one on the other side, and you can just flip it around and do the same thing on the other side. So The idea here, again, is to make the annoying process of fixturing something relatively quick and easy. They also provide some clamps, but apparently this works with a wide variety of standard clamps, but I'm just going to throw that clamp in there. And then I'm going to take this bar and stick the bar onto the top here and tighten it down. It's got two very simple clamps on the side. So you just stick that in the little two holes and you tighten it down. And what that does is gives you an underside that you can use to get a reference 0 position, right? So now all I have to do is take this piece of wood and I just push it up to the top, and because I have my vertical pegs here, I just put that over, clamped piece. In the real world, I'd add a second clamp, of course, but I'm just demoing here, and voila. So now what this gives me is this is perfectly aligned to the top of the workstation, and so when I use my shaper afterward, I'd be able to easily access that. And of course, in order to allow the shaper to have a support, you can attach this support bar to these arms. So now, I'll just reach over here and grab this, right? So now, when I'm using this router, it's supported, and this is all at the same plane. So it's very easy to just go over here and route out my tenon. And then, of course, if you want the spoil board behind there, so that you don't, have little splintery bits go out, whatever that's technically called. They've got the spoil boards that are exactly the right height. Of course, you can make more. And then they have these cams as well. So you can turn this, and there's a cam that comes out that makes sure that it pushes that spoil board up against your stock. Again, just all of these little things that are, it just feels really machining-y, I don't know. It feels really well designed. So that's for that sort of application, which is, probably something I'll never do. But I did want to talk about, of course, there are other ways to use it. Of course, you can put things in horizontally. And then they have, if I remove this clamp, they also include this shelf. So this would be sort of for more traditional stuff. Whereas before, if I wanted to use the Shaper origin, I would have to put Shaper tape all over my workbench. This allows you to work on things using the workstation very easily. So this just slips into some slots that they have on the top there. And there's a very simple locking mechanism underneath. So you just reach under there and clamp it, and then it's solid, and then you can release it. And then again, similar to the other thing, let's say that I wanted to, where is that piece of wood that I have? Let's say that I wanted to cut something out of this, right? I could put it down on there. We'll talk about fixturing it afterward, but essentially double stick tape it to this shelf. And then I can do the same thing I did before. So just pop this bar in there, clamp it on, lift this up, and then of course, thinking of everything, right? The motion you use to lock this is to pull up. So you're not working against yourself here. You actually want to pull this up to the top of the bar, and you're pulling up on that anyway. So then you just take the bar off, and again, the top of this piece now is perfectly aligned with the top of this. And when I go to work on it, voila. And then if for whatever reason, you need a little more support on the other end, you can still put that support bar there, and that will allow you to go all the way over. So it's quite brilliant in that sense. And again, from the perspective of working on any kind of machining or CNC or routing stuff, I have found the biggest pain in the ass is fixturing. You spend much more time trying to clamp things down and find a safe place to work and make sure you're not going to run into your clamps while you're moving things. And then, with the origin, of course, you have to put down a tape field in order to make it work. So the fact that this has the built-in tape field that is just here, and then it has this work area that hangs off the front, and so many different flexible ways to use the work area, it's just brilliant from that standpoint. My Shaper has been in the back of a cabinet most of the time since I've had it. I think now I'll actually have the opportunity to bring it out more often and use it. So I'm quite excited about the workstation. Let's move on to the actual project that I want to do. let me see how I can show you this. So I have this thing here, which I made. This is a Ben Eater 6502. There we go. 6502 breadboard computer. And I have this shadow box, so I put it on the backing here, and then I want to put it, I want to have this like framed on the wall. That's my idea. And then I want to be able to turn this on and have it do something. So the idea for very simply, I'm going to have it run off a battery, but then I want to have I want to just be able to reach up and click a little switch here to turn this on. So I got these switches. It's difficult to see where the camera lens is there. So I got these switches, and the idea is that I want to embed the switch into the bottom of this shadow box frame so that I'll just walk up to it, flip the switch, and it'll do its thing. So this is why, one of the reasons I was putting off doing this until I got this workstation. Because I was trying to think, how do I do that, right? This is very thick. It's thick this way as well. It's got some, I don't even know what it's made out of. Plastic, I guess plastic, some kind of plastic. Feels like some kind of really thin, splintery plastic. So this might not work at all, but I'm curious to see if it does. So, I could have like clamped this up and gone at it with the drill press or a Dremel and tried to make the exact shape. So I want to make the exact rectangular shape that this switch will fit into. But then I thought, well, I have a CNC machine, I have all these different things, I have the Shaper. So Shaper seems like a great tool for this, but how do you, clamp this up so that you can run the router over the top of it? And then I remembered that I had this thing on order. So I figured I'd just set this aside and wait until I get it and then see how the project goes. So from my perspective, I think this is going to be pretty easy, right? I just put this up where it belongs for using the table. Not that it really makes any difference. What I'm going to do is put this in there, right? Clamp it, and then I'll be able to use the Shaper to make the hole. So easy as that, hopefully. Now, before I do that, though, and this is where I got a little mixed up, I want to actually do a test. So I'm going to put the table back. And I'm going to just take this scrap piece of MDF that I have here, and I'm going to make the hole in this and make sure that this piece fits, because I only have one of these shadow boxes, and even though I probably will destroy it and have to get another one, which is not the end of the world, I'd rather not. So, okay. Anyway, easiest way to fixture stuff up in a situation like this is double-sided tape. So this is not a great tape. It leaves a lot of goo behind, but it's the one that I could reach without going into another room. So we'll just do that. And then this is not really critical, so I will just stick this on here. However, okay, I just lock this so that I can press down hard. Make sure it's not going to move. Here we go. Pressure-sensitive adhesive. And then, in theory, I just lock this bar there, raise this back up until it's flush with the top, like that. Clamp the table, remove the bar, and I should be good to go, at least from that standpoint. I don't need these. I could leave these arms alone, but they are kind of in my way. I'll just take this one off because it's where I'm standing for the camera. Okay, so let's just take a look here. Yeah, so that should be no problem at all. I could just quickly cut out that shape. So I'm going to install this 1/8 inch end mill, and then we can start in the project. Okay. And I think we're good to go. Is this the world's most complicated way to, to put a hole in something? Yes, it probably is, but I'm okay with that. So let's start scan, and I'm just gonna, once again, scan the whole tape field, and then I'm going to back up here a little bit just so I can again get my piece of MDF in the scan. That's pretty helpful, I would think. Okay, and then finish. And let it do its thing. Okay, cool. So yeah, now I have that piece right there where I want it. And I can, here's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to use the design mode to create a rectangle. Simple enough. And I know I measured it earlier, so I'm going to make it 18.5 by 11.5. There we go. And I can just place that anywhere, really. I'll just place it here. Why not place it here? Well, give myself some room in case I screw up and I have to do another one. Place it here. Alrighty. And now I'm ready to go. All right, so again, I want to make sure I have this set up correctly. So that's my 1/8 inch cutting bit. That's right. Inside cut. Oh, my depth. So the depth I believe is 3, but I'm going to make it 3.5. Actually, I can. Yeah, that's good. I calipered this earlier, so let's do a Z-touch. Yes, let's do a Z-touch. Measure the height. Perfect. Measure the 0, I should say. Plug in the spindle. Here's a mistake I made before. I'm not going to make again. Have to put this little guard on there or it will make a big mess. Okay, so vacuum on. Spindle on. There we go. I'm glad I did that because you got to practice. You forget how these things work, you know. So I have kind of a hole there. I have some issues with the rounded corners. Let me get this up off the tape. Man, the tape is a little strong. Okay. So there's my hole. And moment of truth, does this fit perfectly into the hole? I think the answer is no. And this is why we test. It's the right size, but because the corners are rounded due to cutting them with a rounded bit, doesn't quite work. So I could solve this a number of different ways, but because I just want to, so I can squeeze that in there if I try really hard, but I don't want it to be, especially on the plastic one, which might be less forgiving than a piece of MDF. Let's do this again. Can I stick that back down? My tape's all bubbly, but I don't care. I'm going to stick that back down approximately where it was before. I don't care if it's exactly right. And we will do another one, different size. Okay. So let's go back to design. I'm sure there's all kinds of fancy things you can do, but I'm just going to remove that object, create a new one, and we're going to make the width this time, let's make it, instead of 18.5, I'll make it 18.8, maybe 19. 19, done. The height, instead of 11.5, we'll just make it 12. Done, okay. I'll just put this over here, place. Remember, that's not live, that's a snapshot of the way it looked before when I had different, I might have moved the material slightly, but I know that this is close enough that it doesn't matter. So we're just going to go for it. All right. Dust removal on. Spin on. Okay. Let's take this off and see if that hole is any better. So there's the second one to the right. And there we go. So that goes right in and snaps in with the little snappy things. Actually, well, yeah, there we go. Cool. So that is now the switch that is in this piece of wood. So that's the dimensions I'm going to use. Now I have to do it again with the real object, which will be a little bit trickier, and I need to cut it in multiple passes. Okay, my plan here is I'm just going to go for it because this is going to take, I'm getting fussy here. The whole idea of this thing is I should be able to do stuff relatively quickly. Yes, I know. If you rush too much, you screw it up, and that's what's probably going to happen. But I would rather screw it up for my internet friends' enjoyment than not. Okay, so let's do a little test fit here. I want this to be, so the hanger is on top, so I want this to be on the bottom, like that, and I want it to be, when I'm hanging it like that, I want it to be there. So just going to flip it over, and my goal here, okay, actually going to turn it around because this side is rounded, this side is flat, so I want to put the flat side against there, so it's going to be on the left in this case. And I ought to be able to just clamp that on there and go for it. It does have these little holder things on the back that I could unscrew if I were being thoroughly conscientious, but I think it'll be fine. I'm thinking I am actually going to drop this down a little bit and use the spoil board behind this piece, because I think that will make it easier to clamp it properly. It's sort of hard thing up against metal thing. That's a little trickier than it needs to be, so make life easier here. Okay. Now I can put this spoil board behind it. When I clamp it up, it should be a little bit easier. Oh, there we go. Yeah, definitely like that better. So let's get clamping. Okay, that is at least not going to fall off. That's a good place to just leave it for a second, and then I can put this guy on there, and I can now bring it up hard against the top. Tighten these somewhat, although I don't want to crush the cheap plastic frame or whatever it is. That's better. Yes. So that is now set the way I want it. I do want to cam these out a little bit because there's a big gap behind my spoil board. So I'm going to put this support bar here. Cool. So that's the idea, at least for the fixture. It should be fixtured, and nothing's going to go anywhere. And now all I have to do, in theory, is make the same hole somewhere over here. So what I do have to do here is do a new scan. So because my previous scan had that piece of MDF, and I want this scan to have this actual frame. There we go. I don't need that side so much. I want to make sure I capture this side. Okay, that should be good. Finish. I might even have to put something on there to make it more visible. No, this looks good. I can see the whole thing. So now I'm actually able to align it properly. I could even do a grid. Let me do a grid. So I know I'm going really slow because I'm just afraid of screwing it up. So let me go to design. I'm going to create a rectangle, just like last time. And I want my width to be 19. 19. Touchscreen's not working very well. Not 199, 19. And I want my height to be 12. And I want to place it in a good place. Place. Okay. I mean, it looks like it's in the center of the two things. So let me do a Z touch. I want to do multiple passes. So I feel like I want to end up at 18 millimeters, but maybe I'll start with the same 3.5 that I did last time and see how that goes. And then we'll go maybe 6 and then keep adding 3. So this is the part where I have no idea, again, I have no idea what this is made of. I have no idea if it's going to make a terrible mess or just smell or catch fire or God knows what. So safety glasses on. This little thing. Put the hose in there. Okay, I'll turn my vacuum on. Well, I think that went very well. I don't know if you can see that in the overhead, but that looks like it went very well. So there might be a little bit of, yeah, that's just, I think there's foam inside. So that's cool. So now without moving anything, what I can do is just go back, set my depth now to 6 millimeters. And I'm just going to continue the same process. Up to 15. I just want to take a quick look there. Yeah, I think this is the last pass. At some point we sucked up the whole inside piece. All right, last pass, 18 millimeters. All right, did we do it? I see daylight. I see daylight. Okay. Let me remove the goggles. Oh, this is a good sign. Unclamp this thing. Take a look. See that? Now, you might say this was incredibly fussy, and it was, right? But that's very hard to do with a Dremel. So let me get some additional light on there. Maybe that'll help. Okay, so now here is the test. Will this switch fit? So we went all the way through all that material. It should fit, should be exactly the same size as the one I put in the wood. So I'm just thinking, in case this is hard to get out again, which way is on? So I think on is going to be to the right. So this will be good. Oh, it looks like it fits. Push that right in there. Oh yeah, oh yeah, ha ha ha. Look at that. That is exactly what I wanted. So now I've got my frame, and it's going to eventually have this circuit board behind it, and there will be a 9-volt battery in there, and then it'll hang on the wall. And if I want to show it off, I just walk up, flip the switch, it'll display some stuff on the screen there, make some little bleeps and bloops, and then I can turn it back off. And I mean, looks like I bought one. So there we go, Shaper Workstation. I know there was a lot of, fussing around because I was showing it off, and also it's the first time I've ever used it. But I think the concept here really works. This would be a hard thing to fixture, and once I got the little getting used to it's out of the way, it really is just a matter of sort of putting it in there, clamping it down, bringing it up to the right height, and then the rest of it is it's good to go, and it's a perfect precision cut. So I'm happy. So there it is. I hope you enjoyed my little Shaper Workstation tour and demonstration and first cut here we did together. If you enjoy my content and you want me to make more of it, please do subscribe, like, comment on the videos, hit the bell, all that stuff. When YouTube sees engagement on these things, they send more people. And when I see more people watching the videos, I'm more inclined to make them. If I spent my entire Saturday doing this and there's like 3 people who watch it, I probably would rather play video games next time, or at least do this same project and take 1 hour instead of 6 with setting up the cameras and lights and everything. It really is a lot of work. Also, it's 82 degrees in the garage today, so being all sweaty and disheveled is a combination of the heat and just general lack of coronavirus haircuts and things. Again, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one.